Have you ever wondered how some older people always seem so peaceful and unbothered, no matter what life throws at them? It's almost like nothing phases them. Whether it's rude people, bad days, or unexpected problems, they just shrug it off like it's nothing. It's as though they've discovered a secret to remaining calm, cool, and collected even when the world around them is anything but peaceful. The truth is, there's a reason older generations tend to stay so grounded and unshaken. And it's not just because they're getting used to life's ups and downs over the years. It's because they've mastered a few essential life lessons that keep them from getting bogged down by frustration, anger, or stress. Today, I'm going to share some of the insights that have helped older generations stay serene no matter how crazy life gets. By the end of this, you'll understand why they seem to never let anything or anyone get under their skin. Whether it's an annoying person, daily frustrations, or life's curveballs. Let's start with one of the most common things older people do, embracing the "it is what it is" mentality. I once met a woman named Mrs. Jenkins at a local coffee shop. She was in her late 80s, but her energy was magnetic. She always had a warm smile and a sparkle in her eye, making everyone around her feel at ease. One day, while sitting and sipping her coffee, the chair she was sitting in suddenly wobbled and collapsed right underneath her. Now, most people would have been embarrassed or frustrated in that situation, but not Mrs. Jenkins. She slowly got up, dusted off her dress, and with a chuckle said, "Well, I guess that chair was ready to retire too." The entire cafe burst into laughter. Instead of making a scene or getting upset, she simply shrugged it off, found another chair, and carried on with her day as though nothing had happened. When someone later asked her how she managed to stay so calm in such an unexpected moment, she said something that has stuck with me ever since. "Honey, at my age, you learn that things break, people cancel plans, and life doesn't always go your way. You can either get mad about it or just say it is what it is and move on." And that's the secret right there. Life is full of little annoyances, a delayed flight, a broken chair, or getting stuck in traffic. The older generation has learned something powerful. Fighting against what you can't change only makes you more miserable. They understand that it's better to accept things as they are and move on rather than waste energy fighting the inevitable. So the next time something small tries to ruin your mood, take a page from Mrs. Jenkins's book and embrace the "it is what it is" mindset. Another important lesson older generations teach us is choosing our battles wisely. I remember a story about Mr. Thompson, an older man who lived in my neighborhood. He was one of those wise, quiet types, never in a rush, always polite, and rarely ruffled by anything. One day, I saw him in the grocery store parking lot having a disagreement with a much younger man. The younger guy was clearly upset, waving his arms and raising his voice over what seemed like a minor issue, a parking spot. Most people would have matched his energy, trying to get the last word or escalate the argument, but Mr. Thompson remained calm, unshaken by the confrontation. He listened quietly, then simply said, "Son, you're not going to remember this in 5 minutes, so why bother?" The younger man fell silent, and Mr. Thompson walked away, not allowing the situation to disrupt his peace. What Mr. Thompson demonstrated was that not every issue deserves your attention or energy. Older generations have learned that it's essential to pick your battles. There's wisdom in knowing when to walk away from a disagreement, when to let go of petty conflicts, and when to choose silence over confrontation. It's not about being passive, it's about recognizing what truly matters and saving your energy for the things that really deserve it. Many younger people get caught up in unnecessary arguments or frustrations, but those who've lived through more understand the value of conserving their emotional energy. This ability to stay calm, cool, and collected is also tied to a deeper sense of perspective that older generations have cultivated over the years. They've learned that in the grand scheme of things, many of life's challenges are temporary. The small inconveniences we face daily, whether it's a miscommunication, a mistake at work, or a minor mishap, don't matter as much in the long run. With age comes a certain peace that comes from knowing this too shall pass, and that nothing is truly as important as it feels in the moment. So if you've ever wondered how older generations stay so unbothered by life's chaos, the answer lies in these timeless lessons, embracing the "it is what it is" mindset, choosing your battles wisely, and maintaining a broader perspective on life. By adopting these practices, you can cultivate a sense of peace and emotional resilience, no matter what life throws your way. Mr. Thompson stood there, listening calmly, without saying much. The younger man ranted, his frustration spilling out over what seemed like a trivial disagreement. But instead of reacting or defending himself, Mr. Thompson simply stood his ground with a serene expression. After the man finished his rant, Mr. Thompson smiled and said, "You know, I hope your day gets better." Then, without another word, he walked away. The younger man stood there, stunned, his anger fizzling out in the face of Mr. Thompson's unruffled calm. He had been gearing up for a full-blown argument, but Mr. Thompson didn't give him the satisfaction of a fight. Later, I asked Mr. Thompson why he hadn't defended himself, why he didn't argue back. With a chuckle, he simply said, "I've lived long enough to know that not every fight is worth my time. Some people are just looking for someone to argue with. Why let them ruin your day? I've got more important things to focus on, like what's for dinner." His words were simple, but they carried a depth of wisdom that most people only learn after years of life experience. The lesson here is clear. As you get older, you learn that not every battle deserves your energy. You start to realize that it's far more valuable to conserve your time and attention for the things that truly matter, your health, your loved ones, your peace of mind, rather than waste it on petty arguments or misunderstandings. How often do we find ourselves upset over things that ultimately don't change anything? A rude comment online, a slight disagreement with a coworker, or someone cutting us off in traffic. When you choose your battles wisely, you not only save energy, but also maintain control over your emotional state. Sometimes, the most powerful response to conflict is simply walking away, preserving your peace for what really matters. Another important lesson comes from a woman I knew named Grandma Rose, an absolute embodiment of serenity. Grandma Rose had a way of remaining calm, no matter what was going on around her. One day, I was visiting her when her neighbor's dog began barking incessantly. It was loud, it was constant, and honestly, it was starting to drive me crazy. But Grandma Rose, she didn't flinch. She simply grabbed her knitting needles, settled into her favorite chair by the window, and started humming a little tune. I was starting to lose my patience, but there she was, as unbothered as ever, her hands moving in rhythm as she knitted. After a few minutes, I couldn't help myself and asked, "Doesn't that dog barking drive you crazy?" She smiled and replied, "Oh, sweetie, I've got more important things to do than listen to that dog. Besides, I'm almost done with this scarf." Her ability to stay calm in the face of irritation was remarkable, and I was struck by her wisdom. She had mastered the art of distraction. Instead of letting the noise of the world disturb her peace, she focused on something she enjoyed, knitting. Grandma Rose knew that when life throws you something annoying, you don't have to catch it or let it take up space in your mind. You can choose to focus on something positive, something that brings you joy. Over the years, she had learned that keeping herself busy with activities she loved, knitting, tending to her garden, baking cookies for the neighborhood kids, was her way of not letting the little annoyances in life steal her peace. When I asked her how she dealt with tough moments, she shared a piece of advice that has stayed with me ever since. Life will throw things at you, but you don't have to catch them. Keep your hands busy with something that brings you joy instead. That was the key to her calm. It wasn't about ignoring the world, it was about choosing to direct her focus toward things that made her happy. Whether it was working on a new knitting project, tending to her flowers, or simply enjoying a good book, Grandma Rose knew that the more you focus on what brings you peace, the less room there is for frustration to creep in. Life is too short to waste time being angry or upset. If something or someone is bothering you, find a way to shift your focus. As Grandma Rose would say, if you're busy making something beautiful, you won't even notice the noise. Lastly, let me share a conversation I had with Mr. Harris, an elderly gentleman who had been married for over 50 years. He and his wife were known throughout the community for their calm and easygoing nature. One day, I asked him what the secret to their long and happy marriage was. His answer was simple, yet profound. I stopped expecting her to be perfect, and she stopped expecting me to be perfect. Those words held so much truth. Over the years, Mr. Harris had learned that letting go of expectations was key to a peaceful and fulfilling life. So many of us spend time trying to mold the people around us into what we think they should be. We expect perfection, and when it doesn't come, we become frustrated. But Mr. Harris had learned that letting go of those expectations and accepting people and situations as they are leads to much less disappointment. This isn't just true in marriage, it's a lesson that can be applied to life in general. We can't control how others act, and expecting perfection from ourselves or others is a recipe for frustration. But when you learn to let go of those unrealistic expectations, you free yourself from unnecessary stress. Mr. Harris's marriage had thrived, not because they were perfect, but because they were accepting and kind, understanding that imperfections were part of the journey. So whether it's choosing to walk away from a pointless argument, mastering the art of distraction, or letting go of expectations, older generations teach us valuable lessons about how to live with peace. As we age, we learn that our emotional energy is precious, and we become better at investing it only in things that truly matter. Through these practices, we can navigate life's challenges with the same calm and grace that older generations have perfected. Mr. Harris went on to share a story from his younger days when he used to get frustrated over little things. If his wife forgot to pick something up from the store, or if dinner wasn't ready on time, it would set him off. But one day, after a particularly silly argument, he had an epiphany. He realized that the problem wasn't his wife's actions, it was his expectations. "I was expecting her to read my mind and be perfect all the time," he said. "Once I let go of that, we both became much happier." That moment of self-reflection changed the way Mr. Harris approached not only his marriage but life in general. As he got older, Mr. Harris stopped expecting everything to go perfectly according to plan. He learned to roll with the punches. A canceled trip, a broken appliance, or even a rainy day, none of these things ruined his mood anymore. "The fewer expectations you have, the more peace you find," he told me with a knowing smile, and that's the real lesson here. Older generations have learned that life is unpredictable and people are flawed. When you hold on to rigid expectations of how things should be, you set yourself up for disappointment. But when you accept people and situations as they are, you free yourself from unnecessary frustration. Think about how often we get upset because someone didn't meet our expectations. Maybe a friend forgot to call, or a coworker didn't do their part perfectly. But when you let go of those rigid expectations, you find yourself more at peace. Life gets a lot easier when you learn to accept things as they are instead of how you wish they'd be. As Mr. Harris said, perfection isn't real, but peace of mind is. And then there's Mr. Wilson, the older gentleman in my neighborhood who was famous for always having a joke up his sleeve. One day, I saw him at the grocery store holding a shopping list and squinting at the shelves, trying to make sense of it all. After a few minutes, he walked up to a young employee and said, "Excuse me, young man, do you sell patience? Because I seem to be running out of it." Everyone within earshot burst into laughter, including the employee. The lighthearted comment diffused what could have been a frustrating moment for both him and the employee. Later, I asked Mr. Wilson why he was always so quick to crack a joke, even in frustrating situations. He shrugged and said, "What's the alternative? Get mad? Life's too short for that. If you can laugh about it, it doesn't bother you as much." He went on to share that, over the years, he had learned that laughter diffuses tension. Whether it's a long wait at the doctor's office, a broken appliance, or an awkward situation, laughter has the power to change your perspective. One of my favorite stories Mr. Wilson told me was about the time he showed up at a wedding wearing mismatched shoes. He didn't realize it until someone pointed it out during the reception. Instead of getting embarrassed, he stood up, raised his glass, and said, "Well, I guess my feet couldn't agree on what to wear today." The entire room erupted in laughter, and rather than feeling awkward, he became the life of the party. That's the point. Older generations understand that humor is one of the best tools for handling frustration. It's not about ignoring problems, but about choosing to see the lighter side of things. When you laugh at a situation, it loses its power over you. So the next time life throws something annoying your way, whether it's an awkward moment, a silly mistake, or a frustrating delay, try laughing it off. Humor shifts your mindset from frustration to joy. As Mr. Wilson would say, if you can't change the situation, change how you react to it. And a good laugh makes everything easier. So there you have it. 5 things older generations do to stay calm, cool, and completely unbothered by life's frustrations. From embracing the "it is what it is" mindset to laughing off awkward moments, these are lessons we can all start using right now to live more peacefully. If you found these stories helpful, or even if you just enjoyed hearing them, do me a favor and drop a comment below with the number 9 if you're ready to let things go and stay unbothered. or comment 0 if you're still working on it but want to get there. I'd love to see where everyone stands. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss future content. Thank you so much for watching. Stay calm, stay happy, and as always, it is what it is. See you in the next video.